You are exhausted from pretending that you have all the time in the world, carrying the crushing weight of an infinite future that is entirely an illusion. The quiet panic waking you up in the middle of the night will not stop until you finally turn around and look straight into the one shadow you have spent your whole life running away from. If you are ready to explore these silent, hidden corners of your own mind, I invite you to subscribe to the Psyche Unfolding channel so we can navigate this darkness together. Right now, you are probably carrying a mountain of unspoken anxieties that dictate your every waking moment. You wake up every morning, feeling like you are already behind schedule, racing relentlessly without a destination toward a finish line you cannot even see. You hoard moments, relationships, and achievements as if you are trying to build a massive stone fortress against the inevitable. Think about how much of your vital energy it takes to constantly ignore the ending of your own story. You fill your days with endless noise, trivial tasks, and meaningless arguments just to drown out the quiet ticking of the clock in the background. You are terrified of silence, because silence is the only place where you can actually hear the truth. But running from the truth takes a severe toll on your physical body. Your shoulders are constantly tense, your jaw is permanently clenched, your breath is always shallow. You treat your precious time like a bottomless well, drawing from it carelessly, splashing the water onto the dry dirt, yet feeling a deep, unnameable dread whenever you hear the bucket scrape the dry stones at the bottom. We push the thought of our mortality into the darkest, dustiest corners of the attic of our minds. We lock the heavy wooden door, throw away the key, and pretend the room does not exist. But that locked door is exactly what is causing your suffocating anxiety. When you pretend you will live forever, every single choice becomes terrifyingly heavy. If you believe you have infinite tomorrows, every mistake feels permanent. Every missed opportunity feels like a catastrophic failure, and you end up completely paralyzed in a vast labyrinth of endless paths, terrified to take a single step forward. You keep every single door in your life propped open, terrified that if you walk through one, you will lose the options hidden behind the others. You stand in the drafty hallway of your life, watching the hinges rust on all these open doors, paralyzed by the illusion that you have enough time to explore every single room. You do not. And instead of living warmly in one beautiful room, you spend your entire life standing in a cold corridor, freezing and exhausted. But finally standing still, you are carrying a heavy backpack filled with jagged rocks of expectation, heavy regrets from yesterday, and a million suffocating plans for a tomorrow that has not even arrived. It is exhausting just to breathe under that relentless pressure. You are shivering in a cold, fog-covered forest, running blindly from a phantom that is always exactly one step behind you. You hear the rustle of dead leaves in the dark, and you speed up, letting your heart pound against your ribs until it physically hurts. You obsessively track your progress against invisible milestones, comparing your behind-the-scenes reality to the curated highlight reels of strangers you will never even meet. You measure your worth by how much you can produce, how much you can accumulate, how much you can conquer, falsely believing that if you just gather enough heavy golden coins, you can pay the ferryman to turn the boat around. But the ferryman only goes in one direction. This is how you live your life right now. Running, hiding, avoiding the one absolute certainty of existence. You tell yourself that thinking about the end is morbid, that it will bring you down, that it will ruin the fragile joy of living. But look honestly at your life. Are you truly joyful while you are running? The fear of the end does not keep you safe. It only keeps you trapped in a perpetual state of quiet desperation. You are like a tightly wound clockwork mechanism, ticking away frantically, terrified of the moment the spring finally unwinds. Every tick is a painful reminder of what you are losing, because you refuse to accept that the winding must eventually stop. But what happens if you stop running? What happens if you stop in the middle of that dark, foggy road? Plant your feet firmly on the damp earth, turn around, and finally look the phantom directly in the eye. I want you to imagine doing that right now. You stop. You turn. You take a deep, trembling breath. And as the heavy fog parts, you realize the phantom is not a monster coming to devour you in the night. It is a quiet, solemn guide holding a warm, glowing lantern. Steer. This is the profound truth I have come to understand after years of sitting with individuals in their darkest, most vulnerable moments, watching them suffer unnecessarily. Recognizing your own mortality is not a curse or a dark shadow falling over your joy. It is the ultimate permission slip to finally start living. When you truly accept that your time here is strictly limited, that your days are numbered, something beautiful and devastating happens to your perspective. The suffocating illusion of infinity shatters like a fragile glass window, letting the fresh, crisp air rush into the stagnant room of your mind. Suddenly, you do not have a million tomorrows to waste on things that do not matter. You only have today. You only have this exact moment, breathing in, breathing out, feeling the invisible air fill your lungs. Imagine an enormous blank white canvas stretching out for hundreds of kilometers in every single direction. If you were handed a brush and told to paint a masterpiece on it, you would freeze in pure terror. Where would you start? How could you possibly fill an endless void? But if someone gives you a small, beautifully carved wooden frame and says you only have the space inside this exact frame to paint, the paralysis vanishes instantly. The boundary does not restrict your creativity. The boundary sets you free to focus. Death is that wooden frame. It gives shape, meaning, and absolute urgency to the colours you put on the canvas of your life. Without the frame, the colours just bleed into nothingness. The boundary forces you to decide what is truly beautiful to you. It forces you to choose your colours wisely, to place your brushstrokes with deep intention and love, rather than just splashing paint blindly into the void. Think about a single fragile autumn leaf falling slowly from a tall tree. Its breathtaking beauty comes precisely from the fact that it will soon rest on the ground and return to the dark earth. If that leaf were made of indestructible material, hanging there forever without ever changing, you would never stop to admire its vivid reds and golds. Its temporary nature is the very source of its profound value. You are that fragile leaf. Your life is a delicate, fleeting spark in the immense dark sky of existence. We walk past beautiful old buildings and assume they will stand forever, but they are slowly crumbling, just like everything else. We build massive monuments of stone and metal, hoping to leave a permanent mark, but the earth eventually reclaims it all. And instead of finding this depressing, I want you to see the incredible, overwhelming liberation hidden securely inside this fact. If nothing is permanent, then your mistakes are not permanent either. Your failures will wash away. The embarrassing moments that keep you up at night, the times you stumbled, the times you fell entirely short, they will all be swept away by the gentle, relentless tides of time. The universe does not keep a permanent ledger of your flaws. When you finally accept this reality, the heavy backpack of expectations begins to slip from your tired shoulders. The trivial arguments, the harsh opinions of strangers, the superficial worries that keep you awake, staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m, they all burn away like morning mist under a blazing sun. Why would you spend one of your precious, numbered days agonizing over someone else's meaningless judgment? Why would you waste a single heartbeat holding on to a bitter grudge against someone who is also just a fleeting spark? You simply do not have the time for it anymore. This realization strips away the unnecessary, suffocating layers of your existence, leaving only what is deeply, undeniably real. It is like returning to an abandoned house you used to live in. You throw open the dusty windows, sweep away the thick cobwebs, and toss out all the broken furniture and useless junk you have been hoarding for decades. You drag the heavy, useless boxes out into the yard and watch them disappear. These boxes standing still. These boxes are filled with the heavy expectations of the rigid societal definitions of success that never actually resonated with your soul, the old resentments that have been poisoning your blood for years. You do not need them. What remains is a clean, quiet, sacred space where you can finally sit down on the bare floor and just breathe. As you sit in this clean, open space of your mind, notice how the panic has completely subsided. The tight, painful knot in your chest is loosening its grip. You are no longer racing toward a shimmering mirage in a dry desert. You are simply walking a beautiful, winding path, knowing with absolute certainty that it will eventually end, and feeling a profound, overwhelming sense of gratitude for the solid stones beneath your feet right now. You start to notice the rich, bitter taste of your morning drink, the gentle, healing warmth of the sun on your skin, the rhythmic, comforting sound of rain tapping against the glass. These are not just ordinary, passing moments anymore. They are absolute miracles, precisely because they will not last forever. They are precious, solitary drops of water in a vast desert, and for the first time in your entire life, you are actually tasting them instead of just swallowing them down while desperately looking for the next oasis. You begin to treat your loved ones differently, knowing deep in your bones that every single conversation could be the last, which makes every word spoken infinitely more valuable. You forgive much faster. You love much deeper. You gracefully let go of the rigid control you have been desperately trying to maintain over a chaotic, unpredictable universe. As you begin to feel this heavy, ancient burden lifting from your soul, I ask you to subscribe to the Psyche Unfolding channel, ensuring you always have a safe place to return to for clarity and peace. You do not need to fear the end anymore. The end is the very thing that makes the journey completely worthwhile. It is the quiet, necessary period at the end of a long, beautifully written sentence, giving meaning and deep context to all the words that came before it. Without the period, the sentence is just a chaotic babble of exhausting noise. Imagine yourself standing on the shore of a vast, calm ocean at twilight. The massive sky is painted in deep shades of indigo and soft gold. The gentle waves are slowly rolling over the cool, wet sand, methodically erasing the deep, tired footprints you left behind on your long, agonizing journey here. The salty air is cool and deeply peaceful against your flushed face. You listen to the rhythmic, ancient breathing of the water, a magnificent sound that has existed long before you and will continue long after you are gone. Instead of making you feel small, this realization makes you feel incredibly safe. You are securely held in the palm of something vast and natural. You are entirely alone on this massive stretch of beach, yet you feel completely connected to the quiet pulse of the earth. You reach behind you and unbuckle that heavy, exhausting backpack you have been carrying for so many years, the one filled with infinite tomorrows, endless anxieties, and the desperate need to control the uncontrollable. You let the tight straps slide off your aching shoulders. You let it drop heavily to the wet sand. You hear the dull, satisfying thud as it lands, and a physical wave of profound relief washes down your spine. You realize, with warm tears of release welling in your eyes, that you never have to pick it up again. You do not need it anymore. You do not need to carry the crushing, impossible weight of forever. You only need to carry the gentle, weightless reality of right now. Let the deep fear wash away with the outgoing tide. Let the dark, cool waters pull the anxieties out into the deep ocean where they belong. Embrace the fragile, temporary, breathtaking beauty of your own existence. You are a passing shadow, a brief, beautiful melody in a vast and silent universe, and that is exactly what makes you so incredibly precious. You are here. you are breathing. You are fully alive in this exact second. The air is sweet, the world is quiet, and that is enough.